Kia ora, my name's Oliver and I'm from Young Workers Resource Centre. So we're an organisation that's going to talk to you today about building power amongst the Rangatahi to make workplaces better, or basically how we kind of are doing that or are starting to do that with the mahi that we do. So the comic book theme that you're seeing is one of the themes that we use with our workshops that we use in schools to teach young people about their rights, okay? And we've existed since the early 1990s as a group primarily providing education, worker rights education to young people under the age of 35 with just a couple of staff. Although over the past couple of years we've gone through a big change. Due to COVID, there's been a lot more cases of worker rights breaches, young people having issues, and we've sort of expanded to meet that need. So why do we exist? So this is a slide from one of our workshops that we'll actually use when we talk to young people. We exist to help young people protect themselves from being ripped off or treated unfairly in the workplace. We also help young people to understand the employment relationship to help them become good employees. So in terms of our organization, we have two sides. We've got our education, which I've been talking about in terms of our workshops. And then we also have the support that we offer in situations where young people are actually experiencing issues or just have questions about their employment. So a lot of answers that we will be giving are relating to contracts. So a lot of young people asking about their contracts. And in terms of our education, we do kind of break down contracts a bit. We help young people to understand their employment agreement, and that's what we do through our employment rights and relationship session, and that's the main one that we run, as well as summarizing some of the laws that are important for young people to know. We'll also teach young people how to enact those rights, which feeds into the help center. So with our help center, that's when we'll actually answer day-to-day questions and respond to issues. And we'll be helping young people with something as simple as how to ask for a pay rise all the way through to taking employers to court in situations where there's been exploitation happen. So in terms of the interaction between our education and our help center, so our help center will kind of be advertised in our education workshops. So in our workshops, we'll be talking about our help center and we'll sort of say like, there's anything in this workshop that doesn't quite line up with what you're experiencing, then feel free to contact us and we'll be able to help you out. And then that's how they interact primarily. So now we're going to start talking about empowerment. So empowerment is this sort of like individual kind of like confidence in yourself. So feeling stronger, feeling able to kind of act in a more confident way in the workplace. So as an organization, we empower young workers through giving them a real solid knowledge base. Okay, just through knowing this stuff, it means that you're able to kind of not be so afraid to raise an issue with your employer. And we also help workers to identify when an employer is acting illegally or when they're just experiencing, I guess, a work frustration. So yeah, as I was covering before, we help young people to identify the difference between work frustrations and illegal activity, as well as sort of briefly touching on how young people can exercise their rights. Okay, so because knowing your rights are one thing, and acting on them is another whole thing. And this is all material that we'll cover in our education. Now, in our help center, we give young people access to justice. So we empower young people through giving support that they might not normally get, and we also help young people see the results of what happens when you actually exercise your rights, okay? And that it's not always such a risky thing to do. You can get compensation from it. And so yeah, like the way that the empowerment works between these two things is that through creating a kind of comfortable kind of space in our education sessions, because we're all young people doing the mahi, then it means that young people are more that we work with are more likely to kind of ask us questions and kind of raise an issue with their employer. And that's kind of how we empower people through making the situation a bit more comfortable. Now we're going to start talking about building power. Okay, this is something that's a bit more collective. Okay, so and through being a bit more collective, it means that bigger change can actually happen. Okay, bigger change than you might experience individually. So, and building power can sort of be understood as changing the game, or the goal of power building is to change the game, to change the system. And we as an organization want to start not only enforcing the law, but changing the law to help young people. And we have been doing a little bit of this, but it's a bit scatterbrained. It's sort of the six staff that we have, we split this mahi across that six staff to do in between the normal help center and education mahi that we do. We'll try to do a bit of campaigning, a bit of draft legislation writing, a bit of thinking in terms of changing attitudes and whatnot. But then what we've done as an organization is thought about what we do and looked at other organizations that operate in other countries and in other situations. And other organizations we've looked at will be doing education, advocacy, and organizing. And this is a way of sort of like not having that extra mahi, that systems change mahi, kind of be all over the place and actually have other people get involved in it and through building power. So as we all know, 100 years ago, employers didn't just sit down and just decide to give their workers more rights. They were approached by working people in union who asked for better working conditions. So we come from a labor background, a worker rights background, which is where we adopt this sort of organizing model that we want to kind of start using. So for our organization, we do our workshops, okay? So that's the education that we do. We do our help center, that's the advocacy that we do. But then what's the organizing that we do? Okay, so this is something that we're just working towards getting into, you know? We haven't actually started doing any proper organizing yet, or we're just sort of in the early stages of it. So what might this look like for us? So the plans that we have and that we've sort of been enacting a little bit have been through our Advocates Collective and our Ambassador program. So the Advocates Collective is kind of having young people who may use our services want to and then want to kind of give back, kind of reciprocate what they've done through the Advocates Collective. And then in terms of our ambassador program, that's having young people who we meet through workshops or through using our services to have the role of a delegate, to have a peer support role to help with any kind of employment related issues. So, and this is the summation of the work that we've been doing, the mahi that we've been doing is yeah, like thinking of a way of having the more scatterbrained, like low priority but actually super important stuff that we do have a role within our organization and organize our the rangatahi that we work with to actually build power and actually have things change. All right, that's the end of this workshop. Thank you everyone for attending, and ka kite, and have a nice rest of your day.